Start.
Okay, I'd start rolling.
Okay, I'm rolling.
We're good?
Meeting.
Okay.
Rolling.
Turn this on. 1 sec. I just got to reset this, and then we're good. Yeah.
Give it up for Jeff Hobbs.
Hey! Oh, thanks, man. Hey. How we all doing tonight? Hey! You know, they say that brevity is the soul of wit, you know? That's true. Maybe I should quit while I'm ahead, you know what I'm saying? Okay, wow, we're having fun. How we doing, everybody? Hey, any agoraphobics in the house tonight? I'm kidding. All right. I guess we'll just acknowledge what we're all thinking. We'll get the elephant out of the room. Yes, it is true. I do have a Band-Aid on my thumb. I know you're all looking at it. It is true. I have a Band-Aid on my thumb. Didn't cut myself or anything. Just kind of curious what my thumb would look like wearing a scarf. Current review, looking good. That's right. Okay. How's it going, everybody? As you heard, my name is Jeff. You know, or as my fans call me. Okay, no fans here. That's fair enough, you know, given the circumstances. No, my fans call me the man of 1,000 voices, you know? Ooh, yeah. That's right, folks. I have mild schizophrenia. I told you nobody calls me that. This guy, you know. If there are any fans of Jeff out there, any FOJs, I know we're a little shy out there, you know, you'll be happy to know I do actually have a few Easter eggs sprinkled through, you know, a couple of references to older sets, you know, Marvel style. That's right, folks, I'm doing the jokes you've already heard. All right, let's get into it. Okay, a little bit about me. I forget. A longer bit about me. I'm a pretty forgetful person. You know, I'm a pretty forgetful person in that order. Hello there, pretty and forgetful. So I do like to have notes on stage with me. I like to have notes just so I don't mess things up royally, you know. I guess we'll just turn to the page we needed at. Put that right on the stool. No, stool, what kind of comedy club is this? Put it right on the ground, I guess, you know, we'll leave it there. I'm also a pretty forgetful person, you know, in that order, pretty and forgetful. Ladies, hello. So I do like to have notes on stage with me while I perform, just so I don't. I think we might have to kind of have to get my notes. Hey, did somebody lose this? All right. I'm a pretty forgetful person. The other day, my mom sat me down. She said, "Jeff." I'm assuming she was talking to me. She said, "Jeff, you remember your issues getting worse, man? You got to go see that specialist." And I was like, "Memory issues." And I was like, memory issues? Well, that's the first I'm hearing about this. Oh, what's next? Oh, yeah, I'm a pretty forgetful. All right. But I do get a lot of flack for having notes on stage. You know, people give me criticism for having notes. They say it's kind of lazy, kind of diminishes the performance to be checking notes, and that hurts my feelings, man, you know, because it's not my fault. Like, I've been dealing with these short-term memory issues for as long as I can remember. Or that it used to give me, you know, it used to make me very sad, very insecure. People give me a hard time for not having notes on stage. But now when people say I can't have notes, I'm like, hey, buddy. Shut up. Got him. So a little bit about me. I used to be a pathological liar. I would lie at every opportunity I got. But hey, not anymore. That's right. A longer bit about me. My tear ducts are connected to my nipples. So when I cry, I actually lactate through my eyes, you know. A friend saw it happen once, and they were so shocked they dropped a glass of water. I'd be like, hey, no use spilling over cried milk. My water. Whatever. Anyways, hello everybody. My name is Jeff. My name is Jeff. I was named after my father. His name's Bruce. He was just named before I was, you know how it goes, you know. There's more to me than meets the eye. You know, there's more to me than meets the eyes. For example, I smell bad, you know, don't smell great up here, you know. That's why they're all there and I'm here, you know. I'm living in Toronto right now. I'm not actually from Toronto, though. I actually moved to Toronto a few years ago, you know, to achieve my dreams of one day spending all my money, moving back home, you know. Almost there. We'll see how it goes, you know. With some exciting news, I did recently become a permanent resident of Canada. That's pretty exciting, become a permanent resident of Canada. Yes, thank you. Federal agent said if I try to leave the country, they will detain me. So I am here forever. Yes, happy to be here. All right. Recently got a, hey buddy. Hi. How's it going? What do you think about political events? I recently got a carbon monoxide detector, and I will admit did explain a lot about the last few months, you know, answered a lot of questions I had. I will admit that, you know, primarily questions like, hey, why am I always dizzy? What's that hissing? Where'd my canary go? What, I got a snake or something? I don't know, I guess in hindsight I should have figured something was up when I put my key in the front door and turned it. The whole house revved like an engine, but you know, doesn't have to make sense. I got a gas leak. I have also been suffering from, say it with me now, lead poisoning. That's right, got lead poisoning, kind of an L. L for lead, you know. Hindsight I should have figured something was up when I ate that sketchy lead I found in the freezer. You know, probably shouldn't have done that, but hey, hindsight's whatever they say, you know. All right. Growing up, I had a very sheltered childhood. I have a very sheltered childhood growing up because I lived in a home. Come from what they call a broken home. I come from a broken home, which is ironic because my parents were carpenters. My parents had kept me in a crawl space. You know, I was kept in a crawl space as a baby, you know. I mean, a crib technically, but you know, it sounds sadder when you say it my way, you know. I was a stillborn baby. Parents didn't want me, stillborn baby. That's right, we made it. Suckers, that's right. I grew up to be a gifted child. I was a gifted child growing up, gifted to an orphanage. Okay, that's not too sad, you know. I was taken in by an older couple that couldn't have kids of their own. And the cops took me back because more specifically, they weren't allowed to have kids of their own, you know. You know, we've all been there, you know. I was homeschooled. Schooled from home in case it wasn't clear, you know. So growing up, my education was a little different than yours, you know. For example, in my science class, when I learned how to dissect a frog, I also learned how to stuff drugs in its body, sew it back together. It's also the only thing they taught me, come to think of it, but you know, I ended up graduating top of my class. The cops found me on the roof, that's right. Things are going pretty good for me. Things are on the up and up, you know. I've been seeing someone lately. I've been seeing someone. Remember that hallucination from earlier? Whatever, it doesn't matter. Yeah, the cops said I couldn't drink on my new medication. I had to stop drinking on my new medication, so I had to stop taking my new medication. We all know how it goes, you know. Also pretty exciting news. Recently got myself a new home. I've been living in a mobile home. I got a little mobile home to live in, you know. A car, technically, but, you know, still mobile, you know. Might explain the engine thing from earlier, if you remember that. I don't know, a few minutes ago, I don't remember that, but, you know. You might be thinking, Jeff, how the hell did you get a gas leak in a car, you know? It's pretty simple, you know? So you got a hose hooked up to the exhaust that feeds back in through the window, right? Because I'm a recycler, damn it. You seen these gas prices? I ain't wasting that. Come on now. Anyways, I wrote this joke the other day, chilling in my car. Here's a joke a cat might write. You know, we all know cats, you know? You know, opposite of the thing that came through here earlier. You know, I got a joke a cat might, if a cat could speak and write this joke, a cat would be like, you know, the humans, they never paid attention to my non-verbal communication signals, you know? But look at me meow, that's right. Hey, that's a joke a cat would write, you know? I'm a pretty simple person, you know? In that order, pretty and simple. Ladies, hello, I'm a pretty simple person, you know? I put my pants on one pair at a time. Start every day with a coffee and 2% milk, 98% cereal. I'm also a pretty indecisive person. You know, I can be pretty indecisive, you know, just in that order, pretty indecisive. Actually, I don't do that one, never mind. That's a bad one. And we will cut this. Okay. That's right. I'm a nail biter. Bite my nails, nasty habit, you know. Someone suggested I should try chewing gum, you know. Made the situation worse, and I just got gum in my nails, you know. Nails in my precious gum, you know. But I'm an anxious person. That's why I bite my nails. I'm an anxious person, you know. Mostly anxious with my house keys. You know, I always like instinctively tap to make sure I still have my house keys on me. It was driving me crazy, man. So I started just leaving them on my front door so I know they're there when I get home, you know. Used to worry if I turned the oven off. Now I just leave it on so I know it's on. I don't have to think about it too much, you know what I mean? Pretty bad at keeping secrets. That's another fact of me. I'm pretty bad at keeping secrets, you know. Like the other day I was hanging out with my buddy Mike, right? Technically his name's Mark, right? He's in witness protection. Anyways, we were like, I didn't say that. Okay, moving on. Okay. I was in an elevator today. Jealous, I was in an elevator today. Do I have a booger? Ooh. Cut that. I was in an elevator today. Jealous, I was in an elevator today, you know. Some old lady got in the elevator next to me, asked if I could hit the button for her. I was like, where do you get off? Side of my contact lenses, no good. Side of my contact lenses, had to fix them up with tape real quick, you know. Went to the doctor, he just thinks I have cataracts now, you know, okay. Yeah, we're dipping into the mid territory. We'll get back up later. We're just padding the set list, you know. when it's freezing. I mean, I don't know where we are. What's next? We'll cut all that. I was approached by the Make-A-Wish Foundation. The Make-A-Wish Foundation approached me. They asked if I'd be willing to spend the week with a sick kid in a wheelchair, you know. I told them I'd rather spend it with a celebrity if I get a choice. Cheated on my math test with a younger, hotter math test. Yeah, that's right. You know how it is, you know. Not too young, though, they'd have to send me to county jail, you know what I'm saying, out there. Wouldn't be the first time, might I add. What do you just say? We're moving on. I have a lot of respect for people that graffiti the trains, and I have a lot of respect for people that graffiti trains, you know? How do they run that fast? I mean, I'm just saying, if I was going to graffiti a train, probably just do a really long, straight line, you know? Hey, work smarter, not harder, folks. That's right. Got caught on private property recently. Unrelated. You know, the security guard rolls up, he's like, hey, what are you doing here? I was like, I can't tell you that. It's private. He said, okay, carry on. Yeah, I've been fooling around lately. You know, I've been getting into mischief. Just don't tell Mr. Chip, you know what I'm saying out there? Oh, wow, okay, he went there. Yes, he did. Wind, would you piss off? Got this kid's book in my room. And his mom is pretty pissed off about it, I'll tell you that much. Always yelling at me, you know. So this coffee table by the side of the road that had a little sign that said, free to a good home, you know? Which is too bad, because I really wanted it, but can't promise that. Knock at the door like, how much did it take you to a bad home, to a terrible home? You know, I live in my car. All right, my friend, I got a friend, jealous. My friend has a big dog, and he's one of those big dogs, you know. But don't worry, he says, the dog would not hurt a fly. Way more interested in hurting children. I did a DNA test recently. I did a DNA test to learn more about my ancestry. Turns out most of my family's from the deep south. Learned a lot more about my ancestry. You know how it goes. You know, we've all been there. Right? Yeah, make some noise. Yeah. Woo! Oh, man, we're having fun out here. I also learned joggers run in my family. Cannibals also run in my family. They just love fast food. Fridges run in my family. Okay, that's it, I guess. Went to the casino. Don't heckle me on my show. I'll get you kicked out, buddy. I went to the casino recently. I went to the casino to gamble, of course. You know, I went to the casino to gamble. And, you know, usually I like the tables. You know, I'm like a table guy, you know. Slots, roulette, buffet, you know what I'm saying? But this most recent time I went to the casino, it was actually like the machines. You know the machines they have at the casino? I got stuck at the machines, you know. There's just something about the way they just spit out insufficient funds that just kept me right where I was, you know. Howdy. Okay, we're building an audience. Follow me on Instagram. Anyways, I buy a lot of stupid stuff, believe it or not. You know, I got a raccoon trap, but it didn't work. So I threw it in the garbage, then it worked. I also got a bulletproof vest. Hopefully, you know, we'll see. Guess we'll find out. My buddy has a sleep apnea machine, you know. If you don't know what that is, it's like a machine for sleep apnea. But if you don't know what it does, it's basically like it circulates air through your nose and mouth all night to just keep your passageways open. You know, it's pretty cool. For a very similar but unrelated reason, I have a sleep enema machine that does a very similar thing, you know. I smelled burnt toast this morning. I smelled burnt toast. Couldn't go to check the toaster. I was too busy having a stroke. My dad, for Christmas, you know what Christmas just happened, believe it or not. Oh my God, I missed it. Sorry. Christmas just happened. My dad asked for fingerless gloves, you know, but I misunderstood. Got him a pair of mittens, you know. That was my bad, you know. Okay. Yeah, my dad spent years behind bars. He makes a great martini now. I don't know why I said that one. I should have crossed that one out. We were not starving for jokes. Oh, man. When I was a kid, my mom said, Jeff, I'm assuming she was talking to me. My mom said, Jeff, don't let bullies get under your skin, because one day they're going to be working for guys like you. So I started bullying all the guys like me, you know, for the job security. And it did work. I got a job, but I had to quit the job. You know, it was a fun job, but the micromanaging got out of hand. You know, the micromanaging. I mean, I'm telling you, man, I don't care how much they're paying. Do not get a job at an ant farm. The micromanagers are... Get it? Great, okay. Just making sure. I saw a job posting recently that said you had to apply within, you know. So meditated. Didn't get the job. Waste of time, I will say. I went to a job interview and they were like, could you explain this gap in your resume? And I was like, hey, I got hungry on the way here. You know what I'm saying? Hey, come on now. Oh, man. And then I had a visual gag. Look at that. I took a bite out of that, too. Oh, man. This guy's crazy. What edit it in? We'll Photoshop it. I did get a job. Those are older jokes. I'm now currently working. I'm pretty good. You know, I'm working at the Saddest Factory. You know, it's okay. Way better than working at the Saddest Factory. That place sucks, you know. We turned dogs into dead dogs. Not great. It was sad. That's my point. Been trying to get in touch with my roots. Remember trying to get in touch with my roots? So I stopped wearing hats. Thank you. Went to a theme park recently, you know. The theme was dog, if you're curious, you know. Went to a theme park, themed dog, you know. Speaking of dogs, my dog died. Very sad, you know. It was rough, you know. My dog died. He was a bomb-sniffing dog, you know. Died doing what he loved. Sniffing bombs, you know. Was not trained, just a big fan of how they smelled, I guess. I don't know. He was a rescue dog. I rescued him. I found him in the street. I rescued him from the street, you know. He had a collar on that said, "If found, please call Jack Ainsley." That's not what I was going to call him, but Jack was a great dog, you know. Rest in peace. One time he had fleas, right? My dog had fleas. I looked it up. Apparently, if your dog has fleas, you give it a flea bath. Made the situation way worse. And there's fleas all over my bathroom. What the hell kind of advice? Whatever. When I was a kid, I always wanted to be like my hero, Kurt Cobain, you know? That's right, blonde. And then briefly a redhead, okay. What, something happened? Okay. I got a friend, my friend has face blindness. You ever hear this? My friend has face blindness. More specifically, his he's blind, basically, you know, he's a blind guy. And they say when you're blind, it raises your other senses. And it did, you know, it raised his sense of entitlement, definitely. You know, thank you. Like, too offensive for that guy. I guess we're walking the crowd. Oh my God. Sorry, buddy. See you on Netflix. What are they saying? Oh yeah, my blind guy raised his sense of entitlement. You know, and my blind guy. I guess I'll just go to my camera if you guys are all filming him. Okay. You know, yeah. It raised his sense of entitlement. You know, he's always going like, "Jeff, could you hand me my walking stick?" Like, what? You can't do it? What, your hands are blind too? I should have just stopped when you turned the camera. I should have. Here's a fresh observation you might not notice. You ever notice how expensive things are getting these days? Is anybody talking about how expensive things are these days? You know, with grocery shop, it cost me $400. I'll go with a pack of gum. It caught shoplifting. You know. Went to one of those cashless coffee shops. You ever hear these cashless coffee shops? Went to a cashless coffee shop. That's right. They went bankrupt. Should have taken cash, I guess. I'm trying to become a more conscientious, pretty big word, eh, ladies. I'm trying to become a conscientious shopper. I'm trying to shop local. I've been trying to shop local these days. Now I only shop at Toronto-based Amazon warehouses, you know. Okay, I'll take that. Participated in a walkathon. I participated in a walkathon recently. Complete disaster. We were raising money, but no one was around to pick up the phones. Everyone was just out walking around. What kind of... My friend... I got another friend, and yes, my friend started a moving business. You know, my friend started a moving business. He makes affordable meal plan kits for underprivileged families. Well, I thought it was pretty moving. I don't know. We'll cut this. Doesn't matter. We'll cut this. These pages are sticking. You want to cut?
Yeah, I'm at 15.
Oh, it looks so good.
Oh my gosh, there's another dog. Look at that dog.
Yeah, I'm ready to.
That's a cool dog.
That's a great dog. Come in.
Come hey.
Hi, sorry. No, don't be sorry. It's fine. This is why you do it live.
Yo.
Hi, Ozzy.
Hi, doggy.
See, I've never been to a comedy club where there's a dog that ran in, you know? Well, I've seen a few dogs in my day, but you know what I'm saying. All right, have a good day, guys. All right, let's keep going. All right, I'm ready when you guys are.
Yeah, we're ready.
I mean, yeah, I'm a pretty good guy. That's a good place to pick up. I'm a pretty good guy, you know. Gave blood recently, you know. Did keep the receipt in case I change my mind, though. You know, you never know. I'm also sponsoring a child in Africa. I'm sponsoring a child in Africa, you know. Proud of that kid for getting sober at that age too, man. I got this, putting snow on to keep that down. I got a pet parrot, you know, I got a pet parrot to rescue. I rescued a pet parrot, you know, saved it from a tree. And it can't talk. It's the saddest thing, you know, this parrot, it just can't talk. It's devastating. Or it's not a parrot, but the point is that I don't want it to feel left out, you know, so I started teaching it. Hey, here's something. Are we going?
I'm ready.
Yeah, I'm still rolling.
Perfect.
Hey, here's something. Have you guys heard that joke about marrying a rich old person for their money? It's a bit of a commitment, but the payoff's worth it, you know what I'm saying? Okay, let's keep on going there. Come on now. Come on. You can't say that. Come on now.
No, you're good. You're good.
I got bit by a radioactive lawyer. True story. I got bit by a radioactive lawyer, and it gave me the power of attorney, you know? I've been hanging out with a bodybuilder. I've been hanging out with a bodybuilder. You might have heard of him. Dr. Frankenstein. They're coming to shut this down. You can try with my cold dead hands. Well, it's an ambulance. Someone might be... All right, moving on. You know, you might have heard... this is actually true. Let's say true stuff, you know? There's dogs in the park, you know? The most effective method for weighing a dog is to pick up the dog, step on the scale, and then subtract your weight from the total, right? That's the easiest way to weigh a dog. Also a great way to lie about your own weight, you know? You ever tried that, you know? Like, well, scale says 215, and I'm a lean 160, so... I don't know what to tell you, man. Your Chihuahua's 75 pounds. What you feeding this thing? Come on now. I am on a diet. It's true. I am on a diet. I can only eat fish. Pescatarian, I think it is. Pescatarian, whatever. We'll cut. It doesn't matter. Well, throw the Wikipedia on screen. What is that? I'm on a diet where I can only eat fish, you know, but sometimes I miss the taste of chicken. So my cheat days, I'll eat a pelican. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. A necklace is a terrible gift to get for someone who is necklace. And to an arsonist, every place is a fireplace, you know? Let's talk about me again. It's been a while. Let's talk about me again, you know? Growing up, I was the youngest of three. I was the youngest of three growing up, that's right. I was an only child. My parents were just way older than I was, you know? Still are, believe it or not. I was a poor child. I grew up poor. I was a poor child. Luckily, my parents were millionaires. They paid for most of the stuff. My dad's a mailman. I guess that's kind of redundant. Could just call him a man, I guess. Oh yeah, he's an alcoholic. I had an alcoholic dad growing up. He would try to hide it from the family, but there were signs, you know, from when he was drunk all the time. That was the main one, actually, you know. Just slurring his words, knocking paintings off the wall. He'd find him in the morning at the bottom of the stairs, like, don't tell your mother. It's like, Dad, you're talking to Mom right now. He'd be like, oh, don't tell the kids. Okay. Stop turning. I can't swim. I'm what's medically referred to as a non-swimmer. So if you're drowning, buddy, I'll film it, but I ain't coming to save you, you know. My parents, they wanted to teach me how to swim, but they couldn't agree on a method. That was the problem, you know, because they had very different upbringings. You know, like my mother, her parents were very nurturing, you know, very caring, very cautious. So they drained their pool and gradually raised the water level as she learned, so she'd always feel comfortable, right? Whereas my dad's parents were a lot more sink or swim. Literally just chucked them in, let them figure it out, you know. And they couldn't agree on what method was more effective, you know. Do we raise the water level or do we just throw them in? So they tried to compromise, which led to me being thrown into 2 inches of water. And then 4 inches of water, you know. Yeah, did not learn how to swim. My mother, I got a mother, and yeah, my mother's been complaining about this tent city. A tent city has appeared in her town, you know. She's complaining about, I'm assuming we all know what a tent city is. Well, I'm hoping. When it's formed in her town, you know, she's always complaining about the noise and the smell and the lawlessness of it all, you know. And so, you know, it's like let her talk, you know. But I recently went back to visit her. We drove past this tent city, and she's like, look at it, Jeff, look at this disaster. It's like, Mom, that's not tent city, that's a circus, you know. And I agree, it smells. Okay. I was a dumb kid. Grew up to be a smart man, but I'm a dumb kid, you know. I was a dumb kid. My parents divorced. I thought I was getting the birds and the bees talk, you know. I thought that's what that was. When they were like, Jeff, we need to talk to you about something, I thought I was getting the birds and the bees talk. Told me they were getting a divorce, so I thought that a divorce was the birds and the bees. You know, it was sex, was getting a divorce, you know. I went to high school. Oh, it looks like we have a bit of a stage crasher here. Oh, too heavy, too hot to handle, eh? Sorry, buddy. Go back to PBS, buddy. Put your speed. Anyways, so when I went to high school, I thought that the birds and the bees was like a divorce. So when my friends would be like, hey, Jeff, have you had sex yet? I'd be like, are you kidding me? I'm not even married yet. No, it's fine. What are you, heckling? What are you? It looks like we have another heckler on our hands. No, this is actually a way better solution, I think. I'll just step on my own material. Since you seem to want to do it so bad, I'll do it myself. My friend, I got a friend, and yeah, that's my friend took too many placebos. Thought he was gonna die.
Sorry, I gotta stop. First SD card is full. Give me 1 second.
Incredible. That's a good place to end.
Okay, rolling.
Cool. Okay. I want to go see the new kids movie. I want to go see the new kids movie in theaters. Kind of evergreen. We'll say Sonic for now, but we'll cut that out. We'll dub over it later. The point is that I want to go see that kids movie. Didn't want to go alone. Kind of creepy just showing up to a kids movie alone. So I tried to sneak in. Right. This guy's just one kid in a trench coat. A lot of people, they wear band shirts. Me, I like to wear brand shirts. I like brand shirts. Walmart, Best Buy. In case you don't know what a brand is, I like brand shirts. I don't work in any of these places. I'm just a big fan. Of their employee discounts. Here's something philosophical for you guys. Every hotel is a hostel if you don't get caught. And all divisions actually a long division. If you fucking suck at division, learn that one too. My friend, I got a friend, and yeah, we'll get to that point. That my friend came to me with a once in a lifetime opportunity. Murder suicide. I was gonna do it, but the bonehead messed up the order. So here I am doing this. I got catfished recently. Not ideal. Swimming in a lake. The dude shoved his fist down my throat, pulled me out, took a photo, and tossed me back. I was like, buddy, you gotta buy me dinner first. At least come on now. I'm a big supporter of fitness. People being fit. I'm a supporter of other people being fit. But I'm a big supporter of fitness. So I joined a local women's running group in my neighborhood as their cheerleader. Only problem is I can't catch up to explain that's why I've been chasing them and cheering and yelling at things at them, But hey, they never ran faster, so who's the idiot now? I never planned on becoming a beekeeper. Just can't get them out of my attic, These damn bees, Also, I totaled my car recently. There's one. Here's something philosophical. Every car, when you put your seatbelt on, your car becomes a satchel. Tell that to your therapist. I love that. My friend, I got a friend. Yeah, my friend and I have been drifting apart. Ever since we moved. Ever since they moved to Europe, we've been drifting apart. I blame the tectonic plates personally. Last time I got on a flight to visit them, I went to the. We'll get to that. I don't want to spoil. Last time I went on a flight, there was some turbulence. Got some turbulence on the tarmac. An earthquake, is what they call it if you're a non-flyer. But that's whatever. It doesn't matter. While I was overseas, went to the red light district, and I was like, wow, am I ever going to turn left? I was on a tour of France. There's a lot more biking involved than I expected, I'll tell you that much. And, yeah, I think I'm good. Are we good? We good?
We're good, yeah.
Are you going to do the getting shut down thing?
No. Yeah, we're good.
No, keep recording.
Yeah, let's get all this. Thanks. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I think that's good. I think we can break kayfabe now. I see.
All the hits. I forgot about the beekeeper joke. I love the joke.
I had like 10.
I love the 12 car.
I had like 10 pages left, but it's cold and I feel bad. So we're done.
Yeah, no, I'm freezing.
Yep.
This was a lovely experience. Definitely glad I got to be a part of it.
Thank you, Tyler
I
Stevens.
can't wait to see the final product. It was nice meeting all you guys.
Nice
Goodbye.
to meet you. See you.
Okay,
That's
cut.
good.